Hey, what's up, guys? I know this is a little bit different setup than you're used to seeing, but I'm shooting this one on the fly because I'm just seeing it for the first time. This is the Whitespark 2026 ranking factors for local search, local SEO. And so what we're going to talk about today is, as a pest control or wildlife removal company, how you can utilize these particular ranking factors, what they mean for your business, and what I do and do not agree with, and what I can take away from this assessment. Again, I'm reacting to this in real time. I have not seen this yet, so you're going to follow along with me as I scroll through, and we're going to break down what some of this means and how you can best utilize it. So if you're not familiar with Whitespark, Whitespark is kind of one of the industry lead reporting tools, softwares, and also just kind of Darren's one of the biggest and best minds in local search. I mean, he and his team just really have a lot figured out when it comes to local search and how you can utilize it. I'm going to skip a lot of this. A lot of this is not stuff that we need to talk about in this video. I kind of want to get right to the meat and potatoes, and so we're going to pass through some of that. It tells you how they kind of put this report together. Just realistically, they do a really good job of polling people who are doing local search optimizations. Local search ranking factors. So we have local PAC, meaning where you show up in the maps, local organic, meaning where you show up in regular SERPs, and AI search visibility. So this is if you're being featured in ChatGPT locally, if you're being featured in Claude Perplexity, and the most important one, arguably right now, Google Gemini, because you're showing up in Google's AI overviews. So let's take a look at some of these. This is showing you what is most important for ranking in that particular segment by percentage. So it doesn't mean that there's any one thing. It's just giving you the breakdown of what pieces and parts score the highest in terms of what you need to be focusing on. So for local PAC, it's showing up in the maps, which a lot of you want. This is something real important. I tell everybody all the time, the best thing you can do is have your Google business profile fully filled out. GBP signals are far and away the most important thing when we're trying to rank in the local PAC. Number two, review signals. Get reviews, get consistent reviews. Make sure you're always trying to get reviews. You don't need a million reviews. You need consistent reviews over time. I would much rather see someone get 3 reviews a month, month over month for a year, than to get 100 reviews all at once and then never do reviews again. And Google would prefer that too. On-page signals, meaning what's going on the website you link to from your GBP. And then you got some other ones down below that: behavioral signals, link signals, citations, personalization, social signals. Okay. Local organic, meaning showing up in the regular search results, not the map, but everything below the map. 33% on-page signals. So what matters most is what you're putting on your website in that regard. Now, we could do an entire video on what on-page signals and how to structure your website, and a lot of that's covered in the book that I wrote. So if you need a copy of that book, I'll put it in the description of this video. That way you can get a free copy of the ebook and read through what you should have on a page and how you should structure your website. Link signals. This one's really interesting to me. This is going to be both. These are the links where people find you. The backlinks back to your website, and so this is how they define it: inbound anchor text, linking domain authority, linking domain quality. So people who are backlinking to you and the strength of their overall website. And then you got behavioral signals. How many people are clicking through to your website? What are they doing when they get there? Personalization, GBP signals, citation signals, not huge ones. And then AI search. This one's an interesting one because you have on-page signals, meaning what you put on your website. Review signals, which we saw in local PAC and maps, meaning how many people are actually interacting with your business and benefiting from it. And then you've got citation signals. Citation signals are super unimportant for the other two, but AI loves them. And this comes back to something that I talked about recently at the Colorado Pest Control Association's Leadership Summit, which is that AI is not trained on an algorithm. Where these two things are trained on an algorithm and learn from an algorithm, AI is trained on human behavior. So it pays attention to the things that you and I as people would need to see in order to make an educated decision on a business, which is particularly why citations are so much more important for AI search than they are for local PAC or local organic search optimization. If you go to a couple of different websites and see all of the information is consistent. So if you go to Yelp and you go to the BBB and you go to a company's website and you see their GBP and the phone number is consistent, the address is consistent, reviews are all recent, looks like things are all moving the right direction in the same direction, you're going to have a lot more trust in that business than someone who, if you hit BBB, it says they're unaccredited or they never claimed their listing, we don't know their phone number, and then Yelp has a different phone number, the website has a different phone number. That's going to be very confusing. It's going to make it very hard to determine how you even reach out to this company. And so the likelihood that you're going to trust them is going to be lower. And so we have to do things, if we want to show up here in the AI search, we have to do things that we ourselves would want to see a business do and would need to see a business do, because that's how the AI engines are trained. They're trained on our behavior, not on the algorithms from which they are drawing the information. This is where we get some really interesting info here. Group weighting changes over time. So each of these is the next year or the next segment that they ran this report. And actually what they're showing us is a couple of years, 2018, 2020, 21, 23, and 26. And so you get to see some changes over time. GBP signals, as you can see, pops up. GBP signals are getting more important. Make sure your GBP is filled out. Review signals jump up quite a bit as well. This is likely because we now have AI in the mix, and AI really wants to see reviews. On-page signals are less important than they used to be, but still very, very important. Link signals drop significantly year over year. And this is likely because we are seeing less SERPs. We're seeing less of the traditional SERPs. We're seeing more AI stuff. And so, the AI overviews, the AI features, where you're being found, cares less about link content and more about the trustworthiness that you're building, the authority that you're building. And so backlinks will matter for a lot of different pieces and parts of the puzzle, but they're not mattering as much as they used to, especially now that GBP or the AI engines, the Google AI overviews, can kind of determine and decipher what kind of authority you should have based on how you're talked about across the web. Behavior signals remain flat, meaning the amount that people interact with your site, the amount that people interact with your GBP really is just as important as it used to be. Citation signals very close as well. I would venture a guess to say that citation signals would be way down here if we didn't have AI in the mix. Personalization signals, okay. Social signals, okay. Not really concerned about either one of those. So we're going to come through tons and tons of interesting information. I'm going to point out a couple of noteworthy new factors here. And so I haven't read any of these. I'm curious to see. Business is open at the time of search, business hours. So we knew this one. We knew this one. But if you're open, you show up. And if you're not open, you're less likely to show up. So that one seems kind of pretty obvious. Address is showing on GBP, not a service area business. This one is really, really interesting. It's one that I'm not sure that I agree with Whitespark's position on it. They say, anyway, I remain unconvinced that showing your address or citing your address is a ranking factor. They say they think it's a bug. I don't agree. I think that showing your address does a couple of things. Showing your address allows people to click on get directions. It allows people to interact with your map pin in different ways. And so you're getting more interaction signals, more social signals from people who are finding a GBP that has an address. And so, I don't know that I fully agree with this. And sure, my data is anecdotal and theirs is a lot wider sweeping, and I'll give some credit where credit's due. Obviously, Darren's got way more background in this than I do, but maybe this is a pest control and wildlife removal specific thing. Generally, right now, we're seeing places that have their address showing doing a lot better than places that don't. Presence of GBP predefined services. I'm curious what they have to say about this. Yeah, so just in general, adding more services that Google suggests impacts your rank. Sorry you had to watch me sit there and read through that and think through that, but that's exactly what that means. The more predefined services that Google suggests that you include on your profile, as long as they are relevant to what it is you do, it's going to be good. Noteworthy factors that increased in importance, coming up 75 points, is keywords and GBP services. Using your GBP service section to build out keyword rich services, very important. Set your hours right. If you have a physical location, track your in-store visits. That's huge. And then quantity of engagement signals on GBP, meaning how often are people actually interacting with your profile. Those things bump up. Internal links from GBP landing page to other pages of website. I've been saying this forever. Google Business Profile only looks at the landing page that you link to. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's not factoring in the rest of the content, but GBPs by far are best impacted by the content you put on the landing page. This is also why I tell people, if you've got multiple locations, so if you're a pest control or wildlife company, you've got multiple locations, you should have individual local landing pages for each of those locations, and you should be linking to those in your Google Business Profile, not your homepage. So if you've got, Tate's Pest Control Cleveland, and then I've got a branch in Columbus, Tate's Pest Control Columbus, I'm going to have two GBPs. Neither one of those should link to my homepage. They should both link to a local service page, one for Cleveland, one for Columbus. That's just the way it should be set up. Just linking out to topically relevant sites. I am happy to see that this one dropped in importance as well. It's just not what it used to be. It doesn't prove authority as much as it used to. People by far want to see that you know what you're talking about, not that you can just cite your sources. And so not a huge issue. As you can see down here, he says that citations are back. This is something that I widely agree with in regards to AI SEO. They're going to pay attention to citations. The reason being, again, the more consistent your citations, the more likely a human would be to make a decision to go with you. So the AIs are going to as well. A bunch looks like some just additional notes here, so that's fun. So let's look at the actual ranking factors. Let's talk about what these are and how you can use them. Primary GBP category. This one's straightforward. What you pick in your GBP as your primary category is what you are most likely to rank for. It's also what you should be optimizing your homepage for, or whatever page you're linking to from your Google Business Profile. So if your primary Google Business Profile category is pest control service, but you don't mention pest control anywhere on the page that you land your GBP on, you're not going to rank well. You should be trying to optimize the page that you land on for your primary GBP category. Now, where this becomes a problem is for people who only do wildlife removal, because you're not an animal control service, technically, and you're also not technically a pest control service. So which of the two should you choose? Both will be equally as difficult to rank for. You should choose pest control service, because if you choose animal control service, you are going to get a ton of cat and dog calls. Many of you in the wildlife industry already know this and have already experienced this. I'm trying to prevent other people from having the same problem. I tell people all the time, number 2 ranking factor always is proximity of address to the point of the search. So how far is your business from the person who searched? The caveat to this is that if you have a service area business, it is important to know that in 2025 and likely into 2026, Google is not using your verified address as the point of your business. Google is using the center of your service area as the point of your business. So you are more likely to rank in the center of whatever your service area is than you are anywhere else if you are a service area business and you're not showing your address. Another reason why I much prefer to have the address showing, so we know for sure where we are likely to rank because of proximity. Number 3, keywords in the Google Business Profile business title. Super important. So much so that I have recommended people get a DBA and change their business name because of it. If you run a company and your company is Jim's Wildlife Solutions, you should change your business name to Jim's Wildlife Removal. Wildlife removal is what people search. It's how people search. It's what they're going to go on and try to find. If you say wildlife removal in your business name, you are far more likely to show up when someone searches for that service. Now, the caveat to that, You are not technically supposed to just change your name in Google Business Profile. You're not supposed to do that. I will say, and don't shoot me if you get suspended because you do this. If you go in and put a keyword in your business title, so take Jim's Wildlife Solutions again. If your name is Jim's Wildlife Solutions, you skip the DBA part, you skip doing it the right way, and you just go into Google and you change your business name. It used to be a pretty surefire way to get suspended. In the last probably month or so, we see significantly fewer suspensions for this. It seems like Google has employed AI heavily in their policing of GBPs, and it doesn't look like the AI really cares. Just as the reality of it. Take that with a grain of salt. I still don't recommend stuffing keywords in your GBP business title unless you have formally changed the name of your business. But you can, technically. Physical address in the city of search. This one kind of goes along with proximity. Not really, I'm not even honestly sure why that's a separate category. That one kind of makes sense. Business is open at the time of search. I mentioned this earlier in the video. Make sure your business is open and that you answer the phone when you say you're going to. Google will check. They will try. And now that there's an AI option that's rolling out where you can click and the AI will try to call and get you answers, we're going to see more and more suspensions over businesses not actually being open at the time they list as being open. High numerical Google ratings. Cool. That one should be obvious. Be well ranked. Be well rated. Address is showing on the GBP, meaning not a service area business. Again, I agree with this one. Make sure the address is showing. Big fan of that. It's harder to get verified. You're going to have to get signage. You're going to have to, the video process is a little bit more difficult. You really have to prove to Google that you do business out of your home or, wherever you're doing business out of. But it's definitely, as far as pest and wildlife goes, it's helpful. Additional GBP categories, quantity of native Google reviews. Okay, those ones are fine. I'm not going to go any further than that. That's your top 9. Those are super important. Focus on those. Local organic ranking factors. This one. No one does any of this right. It's so frustrating to me. Dedicated page for each service. Yes, if you have 40 services, you need 40 service pages. Geographic keyword relevance in content, city and neighborhood. Yep, that means if you've got a dedicated page for each service, you should have a dedicated location page for each of your services as well, which means that if you have 10 services and you service 5 cities, you better have 50 pages because you need a service page for every city that you intend to rank in. It has to be done. There's a requirement. It takes forever. It's part of the reason why SEO is a long-term ongoing service, but you got to do it. It has to be done. Quality and authority of inbound links to the domain. These are your backlinks. This one's super common. For pest and wildlife, the only backlinks I am super concerned about is your Chamber of Commerce, your organizations like NPMA, NACOA, those ones. And if you can get local press is fantastic. Other backlinks, things that prove that you know what you're talking about, those are great. They're harder to get, and they don't move the needle as much as the ones that I've already mentioned. And so when we're talking about what can a pest control or wildlife removal business owner do for themselves, sign up for your Chamber of Commerce, sign up for NACOA and NPMA, and get those backlinks. Very helpful. Keywords and GBP landing page title tag. Again, whatever page you are linking your GBP to, optimize for your primary GBP service and optimize for the primary location you intend to service. Going to be very helpful. Quantity of inbound links to domain from industry relevant domains. This one's pretty helpful, although I don't see it being as big of a factor in pest control and wildlife. So it's not the biggest deal in the world. Internal linking across the entire website. This is another thing that I have to tell people all the time. Google does not care about what subfolders, what subpages you create, what parent-child relationships you make out of your pages. That's not how it determines structure. Website structure is determined by your internal linking. Meaning, does your homepage link to your service pages? Do your service pages link to your service location pages? Do your service location pages link to additional content that answers specifics about that service in those locations? That's how your website should be structured. get a copy of the ebook, it shows it. Topical keyword relevance across the entire website. This is really, really important, especially for those of you who like to go do, during the wintertime, go do snow plowing or Christmas lights or whatever the additional service is. Make a separate website for it or make a subdomain for it. If you do Christmas lights for your business, make it christmas.jimswildlife.com. It's just, you want consistent topical relevance across your website. If you try to talk to and speak to too much, you're going to dilute yourself. Keywords and GVP landing page headings. This one's a little bit specific, so I don't know that it needs to be included in the scope of this conversation or in the scope of this video. It's also not something that I would think that operators are going to go handle themselves, but we'll speak to it real quick. The page that you land on from your Google Business Profile, your headings, your H1, so your primary page title, your H1, your H2s, the way you break up your content needs to have keyword relevance in those, meaning if you have different sections and your page is about wildlife removal in Lorain, Ohio, you better have headings, H1s, H2s, H3s that mention wildlife removal in Lorain, Ohio. I don't care how you do it. If you got an FAQ section, your FAQ section header might be frequently asked questions about wildlife removal services in Lorain. Boom, you've done it. You've included your service. You've included the location in which you service. Very important. Websites to degree focus on a specific niche. I'm not diving into this one. It's very similar to topical and keyword relevance. Okay, make sure your site talks about the same thing. AI search visibility factors. Oh boy, am I excited to see this. Presence of business on expert curated best of and similar lists. Yes, if your area has a publication that does top 10 lists of the types of services in that area, get on them at all costs. Very important for AI search visibility. Dedicated page free service goes along with what we talked about above. Prominence on key industry relevant domains. Also very important. Also coming back to backlinks. Also coming back to what I opened this conversation with, which is AI cares about what humans would want to see, not about what the algorithm needs to see. It's not so much about, did I do all of the right things that Google wants? For AI, it's far more, did I do all of the right things that a person would need to see? And if you have, you're far more likely to rank and show up and be featured when someone asks AI about what your service is. Quality and authority of unstructured citations. We are calling these brand mentions, places where your brand name is mentioned alongside the work that you do. And if we can get it, even alongside some contact info. We're calling these brand mentions because they don't really fit, and I like that they called them unstructured citations. That's another really good way to refer to them. It doesn't really fit the format of a traditional citation, and so we don't really call them citations. We call them brand mentions. A lot of people across the web call them brand mentions. Whitespark's calling them unstructured citations. Totally fine. Authority of third-party sites on which reviews are present. If you're getting reviews on third-party sites, it better be on things like Yelp and on Trustpilot. Do not just rely on third-party review sites that you've never heard of. That's not great. Also, review aggregation tools, those home pages, those pages dedicated for review aggregation, not nearly as important as bigger review aggregators. Trustpilot's the one that stands out to me. There's a couple other good ones. But yeah, you want to make sure that you've got some decent third-party reviews in addition to your GVP reviews. Geographic keyword relevance of the content. We talked about this one up above. Very important. Quantity of unstructured sites. Again, similar with the quality and authority piece. Very important. High numerical Google ratings. Again, make sure that you're well rated. If you're rating well, you're ranking well. I know I said that backwards earlier. I always say it backwards. Websites degree of focus on a specific niche. We already talked about this one too. So let's talk about some conversion factors. Ranking is good, but what do people actually need to make a decision? Have good reviews. Make sure those reviews are good. Be close to the person who is actually searching for you. Have a website that people can actually navigate. Have a lot of reviews. Be open. Have some recent reviews. Now, this, honest to God, This right here could be your AI ranking factors as well, honestly. Like if you're doing all of these things, AI is also going to pick up on you because that's what humans would want to see. These are the things that are going to drive actual people to take action with you. These things also align pretty closely with the things that AI would like to see. So let's talk about some negative factors. We never talk about negative factors. So let's talk about some stuff people are doing wrong. Don't mark your business as closed. That's a terrible idea. Make sure your primary category is correct. If you got the wrong one in there, it's not good either. Presence of other profiles in the same category at the same address, meaning don't have multiple GBPs if you don't need to. And also don't share an office with another competitor. Very important. Don't get bad reviews. It's easy. Again, marked as temporarily closed. These ones feel like kind of common sense. Don't let your site get hacked. Make sure that your map marker is correct. I mean, these ones, again, feel like common sense. All right, let's talk about some suspension risk factors. And you may have, if you're a savvy LeadSquirrel follower, you know that we put out a guide on getting verified or re-verified where we talk about a lot of these things already. But let's dive in on this video. Address is a P.O. box. Don't use a P.O. box or virtual office. If you are going to utilize a physical address and show a physical address, either suck it up and pay for an office or use your home address and deal with the fact that it's very difficult to get it verified. One of those two. Don't try to shortcut the system. Association of a GBP with a suspended Google user account. This one screws with a lot of people. If you have messed up your GBP multiple times and Google has suspended your user account's access to Google Business, if you try to create a GBP, the GBP almost always instantaneously gets suspended. So create a new email, do good with that email, go and leave some reviews for other local businesses with that email, go and interact with some local businesses via that email. Show that you are a real person, show that you are actually using the tool as it's meant to be used. Don't let people report violations, meaning don't do stuff wrong. Again, association of GBP with other suspended listings. If you have a suspended GBP that links to your homepage and then you try to make a new GBP that links to your homepage, Google's going to pick up on that. They're going to know that those two entities are associated. They're going to suspend the new listing too. The rest of these, okay. LSA ranking factors. These ones are fun. Budget and bidding, reviews, service selection, response times, being verified, Google guaranteed, proximity to your surgery, job acceptance rate. I mean, this one feels obvious. These are local service ads. The more you bid, the higher your budget, the more you're going to get. The more reviews you have, the more people are going to interact with you, the more Google wants to push you because people are going to interact with you, which makes Google money. If you've selected the right service, all of these things should come along as well because your reviews should be positive, because if someone comes to you for termite removal and you do termite removal, then you should get a good review from that. So, I mean, just all of these, again, common sense, do good business. That's what it shakes out to. I want to thank these expert contributors. Again, there's a ton of contributors to this. Darren and the team at Whitespark do an incredible job of putting this together every year. They always put together a ton of information that nobody else would be putting out if it were not for Whitespark. You cannot find a report this comprehensive anywhere else on the web. So thank you, Darren. Thank you to the team at Whitespark for putting this together. If you've got any questions, if you're running a pest control or wildlife removal business and you want to start growing instead of sitting there stagnant and hand-holding other agencies, give us a shout. That's all we do is SEO, web design, paid search, paid ad, digital marketing for pest control and wildlife removal companies. So give me a shout. Happy to talk, happy to have a conversation. And if it's a good fit, we can work together. If not, then that's totally fine too. Just a reminder, in the description of this video, you are going to find a link to the ebook if you want a copy of the ebook. So hope this helps. If you've got any questions, hit me up. I'm always happy to answer.